Welcome to Arise Life, a community of believers being equipped, empowered, and released into their destiny. For more information, go to ariselife.org or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.
Okay, so we have been working through, as Masha said, through the book of Ephesians. And I want to just do a quick refresher on chapter 1 before we get into chapter 2, okay? So if you've got Bibles, you get extra points. Open up to Ephesians chapter 2. But we're going to start with chapter 1. For those of you who don't know where Ephesians is, it's right in the middle of the New Testament. It's in the middle of General Electric Pepsi-Cola. Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians. Easy way to remember that. Awesome. Which directly follow 1st and 2nd Corinthians, which follows Romans, which follows the Gospels. Awesome. Wow. So, who here, when you've read Ephesians or tried to read Ephesians in the past, it felt like gobbledygook? Thank you for that hand. I see that hand. Okay. Or it seemed like super theological, super spiritual something. Or maybe there was a verse here and there you could grab out and like put on a bumper sticker or on a t-shirt or something, but you didn't recognize, you didn't see it as a whole. So let me explain something about the way they did things in the ancient world. We tell stories this way. The climax of a story in our culture is at the end of the story, right? Like if it's a thriller, when do they get the person back? If the person's abducted, when do they get him back? Right? And then there's this denouement, there's this wrapping up thing, right? And in fact, there are some stories that go right up to the end, and it's the very last second. You're like, huh! And it's like you fell off a cliff, right? But this is how we tell stories. This is how we make arguments. This is how we do it. But that's not how they did it in the ancient world. They did it this way. Well, not with that marker they didn't. They did it where the highest point was in the middle. And so, as we look at the book of Ephesians, the highest point, the point of it all, is right smack dab in the middle. And on one side, he is making the argument, he's explaining where he's going, and then he hits his high point, and then he spends the rest of the book talking about what does that high point mean for how we live. Does that make sense? So the high point, I'll tell you ahead of time, is this. We are one body. That's the point. That is literally the point, that we are one body. That is the point. And so from here, he's talking about, so if you guys remember, chapter 1, verse 3, he says, "Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who has blessed us in the heavenly realms with every spiritual blessing in Christ." And they would have understood that. If you're blessed with the spiritual blessing, then you have the actual two. They didn't see any separation between those two. So if you had the spiritual blessing, the other was a done deal. Like, for instance, who here is carrying, $1 million, $1,000 cash with you? Probably nobody. Don't raise your hand. But the reality is you may have $1,000, but it's where? In the bank. And you have what? You have a little card that gives you access. Think of spiritual blessings like that. It is a blessing you have, but you don't have it in your hand, but you have full access to it. Does that make sense? To apply it in every situation. So what kind of spiritual blessing do you have according to this passage? Every. What does every mean? All. Are there exclusions to every? Okay. This is really important because we talked about this, that oftentimes it's because we're seeking to meet our needs that we separate ourselves from the body. Anybody? I have a need. I got to go take care of my need before I can come be with you. Instead of relying on God for his provision of my, like for instance, I don't know if I'll be accepted, so I'm not going to come out to the women's thing. God's like, I've already provided a place for you. Right? There's this idea that I have to separate myself to get my own needs met. That's the problem that Eve fell for. That only by separating herself from God, and interestingly enough, she had already separated herself from Adam. She was alone. She was susceptible to the lie that she had some lack that she did not have. Like, I do not have $1,000 on my hands. but I have access to $1,000. Do you understand? They're the same thing, aren't they? But if you come up to me and go, give me $1,000, I'm like, right? So here's the deal. So this is the root. This is the beginning. This is his statement. He says, you have everything. So don't worry. But how do you have everything? He said, you have everything because as you go down, he says that in verse 5, verse 4, he says, we were chosen in him before the creation of the world. How many of you made mistakes before the creation of the world? We have a joke. Warren was there with God before the creation. But that, other than Warren, none of you managed to sin before the creation of the world, but yet you were already chosen. He said you were chosen, and he was chosen for what? To be holy and blameless. That's what he made you for. That's what he paid for. And then it says we were predestined. He already decided to adopt us into the Trinity, into the body, into that we would become one with Christ, and one with Christ, one with the Trinity, and therefore you lack no good thing because you've been wrapped into the Trinity. What in the world? And he says, how did that happen? It was through, verse 7, through redemption that we received on Jesus dying on the cross, the forgiveness of sin. So there's nothing that can stand against you from being redeemed, to being wrapped into God, being wrapped into his family. And he said the whole point of this was, and so I'm praying that you guys, he says, and he lavished on us the riches of God's grace with all wisdom and understanding. He made known to us the mystery of his will. Who here wants to know God's will? Come on. We talked about this the other week, that a lot of times we want to know God's will just because we've tried our will. And how well did it work? Not so good. And we're like, I'd like to read the owner's manual. So what is God's will? God's will is that all things be drawn up into unity in him. All things. In fact, Paul put it another way. He said, all of creation groans, longing, waiting for who? The sons and daughters of God to be revealed. Do you know what sons and daughters are? Members of a family. Only as sons and daughters, members of a family, are revealed, all of creation gets wrapped up into what they were always intended for. All this world. And so he said the whole point of this is to bring all things back up to unity. Now, this is not some Buddhist, unity, because diversity is God's idea. He doesn't want that you become one and we cease to exist. Who here has had unity in a relationship where you didn't matter? Only the other person mattered. That's not unity. That is domination and control. The unity God desires is unity and diversity. How do I know? When Adam was alone by himself, God said it's not good. He made man and woman. Right off the bat, he's like, we need diversity. We need difference. See, it's not unity if you aren't you. It's only unity when you are you and me is me, and therefore we come together, right? The unity that God makes is only unity only he can do. And this unity is what he's after. And that's what he's saying. This is kind of his thesis for the entire passage. And so he goes on. He goes, and then he says, you know what? But it wasn't just that. That's why he died, that we could become bearers of his message and proclaim to you that you too are wrapped in. You too have been brought in. And so he says, this is why I'm so grateful. I'm praising God for verse 15, for the faith that and the love you have for all God's people. And why did we talk about this? Is because the city of Ephesus was a city that was radically divided, radically diverse. They had tons of different languages, tons of different people groups, tons of different classes, all the different ages, male and female, every possible division. And in fact, it's really kind of funny. I was thinking about this, that oftentimes when we introduce ourselves, what do we tell people? What makes us different? What makes us special? What makes us exceptional? And God's like, yeah, you are special. You are exceptional. But it's not to divide yourself from others, but so you can bring your gift to the whole. All right. And so it says, the whole point of this was, it says that verse, Okay, we'll start with verse 18. I pray that the eyes of your heart may be enlightened in order that you may know the hope to which he has called you, the riches of his glorious inheritance. Jesus' inheritance is where? In his people. In you and me. God paid the highest price for what? You and me. We are his inheritance. We are all he's got. We are this inheritance in his holy people, and his incomparably great power to us who believe. That power is the same mighty power that he exerted when he raised Christ from the dead and seated him at the right hand in the heavenly realms, far above all rule and authority, power and dominion, every name that is invoked, not only in this present age, but also in the age to come. So God has purchased us out of darkness into his marvelous light. He's brought us into his family. He has adopted us. He has made us one. And now he's given us the power of God to do the will of God. And in fact, he seated us in heavenly places. Now, if I were 100,000 feet up and I wanted to put something on the ground directly beneath me, what would I have to do? What do you think? Drop it. Would I have to exert any force? No, it's going to get there whether I like it or not. See, we are seated in heavenly places. Keep that thought. He said, earlier it says we've been seated with him. And so at the beginning it says we have every spiritual blessing in the heavenly realms. Now he says Jesus has been seated in the heavenly realms, far above all these things. And God placed all things under his feet and appointed him to be the head of what? Of everything for the sake of the church, his body. Now, I have a question. I realize something. Most of my life, this is my idea of Jesus. Jesus is what part of the body? The head, right? And I have a relationship with the head. So this was my relationship with Jesus. Hi. Right? My idea was I have a relationship with the head. Now I have a question. Does my hand have a relationship with my head? Hopefully. Wow. Right? No, it does. It does. It has a relationship with the head. How? It communicates. How? Through nerves. How does it have power to do what the brain says? Through what? The way God made it? Where does it get the power to actually do what the head tells it to do? Other connections in between? Yeah. Muscles control my nerves? The heart. If there's no blood, turn off the heart for half a second. My hand's like, I'm coming, right? It requires for my hand to do what it needs to do. Like a great example, can my hand function without food? Not for very long. But does my hand eat? But can my mouth eat without my hand? If I do it like a pig, yes. Right? No, but the reality is the hand serves the mouth, and the mouth serves the stomach, and the stomach then serves the hand. Apart from him, I can do nothing. He is not a bodiless head, and we are not a headless body. Apart from him, I can do nothing. That's why I said one of the most amazing things is when we struggle alone, we struggle alone. But that's why he said, confess your breakthrough, your failures, your sins one to another, that you may be healed. That's what Grace was talking about. There's this thing. And Jesus died for a body to bring all things to union in him. Not a unity where you disappear, where you don't matter, where you're like, but rather one where you matter and you have a role to play. But you're not in charge of you. There's a head in charge that brings unity to all things. And so we come to chapter 2. As for you, because you're like, this is amazing. I've been chosen. I've been predestined for adoption. The power of God for raise Jesus from the dead is in me. Whoa, right? Awesome. And he goes, great. Wait. Easy, tiger. Easy, tiger. As for you, you were dead in your transgressions and sin. Anybody have a testimony like that? Dead in your transgressions and sins. You know what? The fundamental nature, it says, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. You were designed. The glory of God means you were meant to look like God in this world. That's why nature groans that the sons and daughters of God would be revealed, that the glory of God would come back into the earth the way he always intended. We were meant to shine with his glory, and yet when we sin, we fall short. It's like when we take a lamp and you unplug it from the source. What happens to the lamp? You can punch the button, turn it on and off all you want. Nothing's going to happen. We were meant to be plugged into his power and his life. We were dead in our transgressions and sins in which you used to live when you followed the ways of this world and the ruler of the kingdom of this world, of the kingdom of the air. Okay, stay with me. Before some of you start mapping out the heavenlies, stay with me. This is a paradigm to understand what's going on. Okay? Jesus is seated where? In the heaven, I can spell, heavenly places. We got Jesus. Jesus. Now, in heavenly places, is there any sickness? No. Is there any fear? No. Is there any confusion? No. Is there any hatred? No. Is there any lack? No. Okay. Now, there is where you and I live, the earthly realms. I can spell. Earthly realms. And that's this physical realm. It's the world we live in. Where are all your problems mainly? Right, okay, all right. In between, he said there's the kingdom of the air. Anybody have intrusive thoughts? No, I have no idea what you're talking about. Right? Intrusive. You know, there is a spiritual realm, and we're later told that we war not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual powers, principalities, powers. Right? So this realm, the realm of the air, the realm of, and this is what, when Eve gave authority with Adam over to the enemy, it was to dominate our thoughts. To dominate our thoughts. And to bring us into partnership with his will for this earthly realm. Satan. But Jesus is seated in heavenly places. Jesus descended to earth and died on a physical cross. That's why it's so important. He died. He came and lived. He was tempted in every way as we were, but did not. He brought heaven to earth. And then it said he ascended back. And we're going to later read, he took captivity captive, drawing us back up. So stay with me. He said, you and I, in which we used to live when we followed the ways of this world and the ruler of the kingdom of the air, the spirit who is now at work in those who are disobedient. Okay, anybody glad to know that when you are an idiot, you have some help doing it? Now, I know I can do stupid all by myself, but it's really encouraging to know I didn't do it all by myself. The enemy is always gracious and willing and kind to lend a hand. Right? And he said, listen, there's anybody here you just felt like, oh, I don't know if I can stop. Yeah, that's that. He says it worked. All of us who lived among them at one time, gratifying the cravings of our flesh, following the desires and thoughts. It's desires and thoughts. You guys remember, he who seeks his own desires does what? Separates himself. He who separates himself seeks his own desire. That whole thing, what happens is, I've got to take care of me. I've got to look after me. I've got to gratify my needs and meet my needs before I can help anybody else, before I can connect with you. And so the more I look to my own needs and my own desires, the more I separate myself. I remember when I was a young man, and I was trying to live out these verses, gratifying this. No, nobody? Okay, just pray for me then. When I was a young man and I was on a good track towards gratifying the desires of the flesh, I remember one time my dad walked by my room and it was completely dark. All the blinds were drawn in the middle of the day. And my dad just leaned in and he said, "They loved the darkness, for their deeds were evil." And I went, "Daddy's not true. Daddy's not true. That's not true." Later, I found out it was true. Moving on. There's an amazing thing is I create this realm where I am God. I have to separate myself from you. I have to separate myself from God so I can be God in my own realm because the only way I'm going to get my needs met is to be by myself. And if I'm with you, I'm in danger. Anybody felt that? That when I'm in relationship, I start to disappear. When I'm in relationship, I'm in danger. And I would submit, apart from God, trying to do relationship is a bad idea. Best thing you can hope for is 50-50. God doesn't want 50-50. He wants 100-100. He wants both people to be fully able to show up. So he says, but because of his great love, when did we make any move towards him? No. But because of his great love for us, God, who is rich in mercy, made us alive with Christ, even when we were dead in transgression. Right? He brought us alive. It is by grace you've been saved. What is grace? Grace is the power of God to do the will of God. It is the love of God poured out in my life to do what God designed me to do. God doesn't ask me to do what I can do apart from him, but he doesn't ask me to do what I can't do with him. He only gives me grace for what he has called me to do. He says, by grace you've been saved. You didn't do this, so don't get all high and mighty. Because there's a tendency in the church, we get saved and then we're like, run away, let's all hide here and sing Kumbaya together. And he's like, no, that's not why you were delivered from hell. That's not why you were delivered from death. That's not why you were delivered from a slavery to your own desires. No, rather, he said, and God raised us up with Christ and seated us with him. Where? So where are you? In heavenly places. You and me. You and me. Okay, here's my question. Are we under here? Are we down here? Now, here's the thing. You know, a millionaire, a son of a billionaire can live as a homeless person. True? They have access to everything, but they do nothing with it. They can have access to everything and they blow it, right? And yet, what does Jesus say? Jesus said, I brought you out of darkness into my marvelous light. I brought you into the heavenly realms where you are seated with me. Above all this stuff, you don't have to listen to those intrusive thoughts. Where can you take those intrusive thoughts? Do you guys know this? Have you ever seen crows like attack a hawk? Or crows will attack an eagle. They'll gang up. And what they do is they latch on the back and they'll ride it. And they will attack it. And if you get enough of them, they can take down an eagle. Crows can. Do you know what an eagle does, though? An eagle doesn't fight the crow because it can't reach it. It flies higher than the raven or the crow can go until the crow loses consciousness and falls off. You and I, we go up to heavenly places. Jesus, he said this. What do you want me to know about this? He said that. What do you want me to know about this? I have this craving that if I don't gratify it, I think I'm going to die. What do you say about that? And when we take those thoughts up to the heavenly realms, guess what? They lose their power. And when I hear, God, what do you want me to know about that? Suddenly, I am now, instead of trying not to die down here, I'm actually bringing heaven to earth. I'm actually able to partner with him for his plans in the earth. You and I have been seated. Do you know what the word seated means? Seated means we ain't working. We're not striving. Seated means it's done. We are seated with him. It's his work. Who did the choosing? Who did the predestining? Who did the adopting? Who did the redeeming? Who did the forgiving? Who did the raising us? Who did the saving? Who did the raising us up? What part did we have to do? Okay. Just sign the work order. Let God take over. We spend so much effort, oftentimes doing things he never empowered us to do. If we'd say yes to him, we would find it's like falling off a log. It's like a slip and slide. Swing, it flies straight to the arrow, to the target. He said he did this. Why? Why did he seat us in heavenly places? So that in order in the ages to come, he might show the incomparable riches of his grace expressed in his kindness to us in Christ Jesus. You know what the ages to come are? Right now. Not in the sweet by and by, it's right now. And you know what he is saying? He's saying you and I are becoming the billboards for his grace. The billboards for his goodness. The billboards for his love to a dying world. That's what he said. He said, I want to put my glory on display in you so the world may know. The world may know what's available. Who here, you got saved out of some of those stupidest stuff possible, but you're making sure that nobody in this house knows about it. No, I know that this is a temptation, right? Once I'm saved, I'm like, whoa, don't let anybody know. I've always been this way. Does I've always been this way give God any glory? My brokenness restored by his grace is what reveals his goodness to the world. He says, be my canvas that reveals my glory to the world. Yours and my testimonies. I was dead, but now I'm alive. You guys remember last year we talked about the 15-second testimony. There was a time when but then I met Jesus, and then he did this for me, and now I'm doing awesome. Why? Because unless they see my lack, they'll never know that their lack is met in him. Jesus didn't just save us to himself. Listen, how many of God's kids does God love? How many of his kids did he die for? How many of his kids have said yes to him? How do you think a heavenly loving father feels about that? I would say brokenhearted. I would say gripped with grief. I would say he is horribly grieved in his heart. Listen, if you've had this situation where at a Thanksgiving meal you sit there and one of the members is missing, the whole family feels that missing person. That is what he's saying. Guys, I didn't just save you so you can huddle away with me and sing sweet kumbayas. I died for you so that you might reveal my goodness to the world so that all my kids might know me, because he doesn't desire that any should perish. He didn't save us to save us. He saved us to bring salvation to the world, because all is all. If I truly love God, then I'm going to love who he loves. See, this is why he says, see, it's by grace you've been saved. You're not doing awesome on your own. Rather, it's by grace, his power, and it's by faith. That's my trust in him. This is not from yourselves. Okay, am I the only one who tried to convince people I was awesome? Yes. I'm going to go talk to myself. Do I have anything good apart from him? What good is a lamp that's not plugged in? A paperweight. You and I are paperweights apart from Christ. But then we're like, look at me, I'm an amazing lamp. No, I am revealing the power that flows within me. Not that you would think something about the lamp, but that you might think that you too could plug in. You too might shine. No, when you shine, it threatens me. Jesus died for that we might be one, right? That we might be one. One body. One body. So, all right, so we're going to become one, right? Here we go. Okay, wait, no, it doesn't work. Nope. Okay, we're becoming one. We're going to become one. We're one. We're one. We're one, right? Are these two one? Are these two pieces one? Well, yeah, they are. Can you see any gaps? They're one. They're one. Here, I'll just see. I'll show you. See, they're one. See? Okay. Just because you're sitting next to somebody doesn't make you one. Just because you share a home with someone doesn't make you one. How do you become one? Through vulnerability. Through allowing you to see the empty places in me and fill up what is lacking. What the women were doing on Wednesday, what the men do on Mondays. Only if I allow someone to see my emptiness and my brokenness and I allow you to come in, guess what? Only then do we become one. Oh yeah, I didn't sign up for that. I signed up to be awesome. No. It is only when I let you see my emptiness, my brokenness, and my need that you then become his means of grace to me and we become one. Well, okay, cool. So I'm just going to be the old person who only gives. I'm going to be the person on the bottom. I don't have any need because nobody can see it. I will just serve everybody and give to everybody. Who are my people? Rather than be vulnerable, I'll just serve nonstop. So nobody can ever see that I lack. Don't look back there. Don't look back there. To my empty places. Well, and I've even seen this. Okay, cool. I do need to be vulnerable, so I'm going to be invulnerable to one person. You and me, baby, against the world. And we're going to come in every Sunday and sit next to people and then leave. Still empty. There are needs that no husband or wife can ever meet. Oh, cool. We'll add some kids to it. That should make it easy. That should solve all our problems. In what world? What world? That just creates more problems. Right? We are not one until I walk in vulnerability with you. We are not, and vulnerability is reciprocal. Do you know why I stand up here and show you my nakedness and my needs and my lack? You know why I do that? Because that's the only way we're going to be one. If you think I'm awesome all by myself, what encouragement is that to you? What hope is that to you? None. See, it is by grace you have been saved, the power of God through faith, and this is not from yourselves. Wait, what is that tense? I mean, not tense. Yourselves, is that singular or plural? Yourselves. Plural. Okay, you're with me. Something you need to know about this book and about almost all of Paul's books. When he says you, he means y'all. It's a Southern book. There is no you. There is no you by yourself. Paul never talks to the you. He talks to the y'all. Because he says, y'all have not been saved. This is not of yourselves, but rather it is the gift of God, not by your own efforts, your own works, so that nobody can boast. But, he said nobody can boast. For the whole point of all of that is what? Verse 10. For we, singular, plural? Plural. We, all inclusive. We are his handiwork. So, if I have a statue in front of you, how did that statue come to be a statue? Somebody came and worked on that stone or that clay or whatever and made it by their hands into something beautiful. Did the stone make it happen? Who made it beautiful? The hands of the master. We are his handiwork. He has formed. If there's anything good in you or me, it wasn't because we'd be awesome. It is because he has formed himself in us. We are his handiwork created in Christ Jesus. You were designed, you were called into existence. From the foundation of the world, God said, I need a Grace. I need a Sybil. I need a James. I need a Lou. I don't want, this world needs a revelation of my goodness and love that can only come through Angie, can only come through Christoph, can only come through Donovan. That is what he said. He said, these are my handiwork, created by God, called into existence to do good works. And I don't know about you, but this used to condemn the living tar out of me. I was like, oh, I got to go do good works. But we're not saved by works, are we? But because we are saved by his grace, by his power, now we get to do good works. You know what that word works is? Do you guys remember? Jesus said, he said, greater works will you do because I go to the Father. Do you know what the word works means in that context? It means supernatural action. Doesn't mean you're levitating. Doesn't mean you're dancing on the clouds. What it means is that something coming out of you is far more than you could ever bring out. That's why when we see a miracle of healing, we know it's supernatural. Why? Because I ain't that good, right? I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV. Like literally this morning, we're sitting there. I press coffee for Masha by hand because it's a manly thing to do. No, and it's this coffee press. But when I do it, it kind of tilts me like this, and sometimes I get like this muscle spasms. And it got so bad, I'm lying on the floor going, it won't unclench, you know? It was like a hard ball. I'm like, oh! And Masha walks up and goes, oh no, in Jesus' name I command you, get out of his body. And I've never had this happen before. It was like that muscle deflated like a balloon, like whoop, gone. It was the weirdest sensation. But I didn't go, Masha, you're amazing. I said, thank you for partnering with Jesus, but I didn't look to Masha for that. Because I know Masha's not that awesome. She's awesome, don't get me wrong. But she is God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, things that nobody's going to go, wow, Peter, you're amazing. No, we're not delusional. We know what you're like. Why? Because I've seen your vulnerability. I've seen your lack. I'm not impressed with how awesome you are in and of yourself because I know that apart from him, you can do what? Nothing. How much is nothing, by the way? Is there, how much, okay, if I have nothing in my bank account, how much money do I have? Unless I have a credit card. Zero, right? Zero. Apart from him, who here is like, yeah, you don't know me. I'm kind of good. I can do a few things on my own. Okay, I can do things on my own too. You don't want those things. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Because my righteousness, he says over in Galatians, is as filthy rags. My good deeds, ain't nobody going to line up for those. But his deeds that he does in me, the works he does through me, they are works which God has prepared for me in advance to do. Watch this. God sets the ball on the tee. I watched this thing. This guy was having a tough day at his on the golf course, and his friends decided to help him. And what they did is he had like a 6-foot putt, and they laid down their clubs on either side to make a little channel all the way up to the hole. And they were like, come on, you can do it. And he still shot short. No, God sets you up. He puts the channel on either side. He's over here pulling. And then when the ball got close to the end, do you know what the friend did? Patted it into the hole. These are works he prepared for you in advance to do. He set them up, and he empowers you, and he directs you, and he saves you, and everything. He does it all, and all we got to do is say what? Yes, Lord. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Why do you think he said, if you want to know how to pray, our Father, my daddy, family, of which I'm now a part, our Father, who is in heaven, blessed, holy, incredible, amazing be your name. Your kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. Who gets to do that? We get to do the works he prepared for us in advance to do. But here's the problem. Who did he say gets to do those works? Do you get to do the works? Y'all get to do the works. Y'all get to do the works. How do I know? Because I've made this mistake in the past. You haven't, but just pray for me. I have said yes to Jesus, and a miracle happens. Somebody gets healed, and I'm like, oh, I'm pretty awesome, aren't I? I start to think something of myself. But apart from him, I am nothing. But do you know who him is? Him is a head connected to a body. Apart from you, I can do nothing. Oh, I like that much better when it was just apart from him. Because I don't trust you. You are fallible. You're broken. I want to just trust Jesus. I want to have a relationship with the head all by myself. That's a weird looking body. It's like a Lego body on top of a living head. No. Apart from him, we can do nothing. But many of us have for years been working out a side contract with God. I hear you, God. I get you. But I'm going to partner. Okay, I love your people, Lord. I do, from a distance. I love them. I really do. Let's see. I will partner. So what are the qualities of people that I'm willing to partner with? Pray for me. But what do you think? Perfect people. Good. That should be a lot of people. Well, let's just be reasonable, okay? I'm not unreasonable. What other qualities out of people that I feel safe to partner with? Positive. What else? Willing to compromise, a.k.a. do what I want. What else? Don't want anything from me. Oh, yeah. Come on. I like these people. Where can we find them? Just like me. Oh, just like me. Like me, but better. Because there's, let's only better. What else? What's that? Rich. Oh, wow. We're going to make an island of these people. And you're not coming. Rich. Who else? Make me look good. I like these people better and better. Look. Give me one more. Stable. I'm going to put that up here with perfect. Let's not be unreasonable. Heal. Oh, yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay. Okay. I don't think we've ever had such a good-looking list so depressed. Does God have any of these people for you? Yes. Yeah. Masha's delusional on your behalf. Are there any of these available for you to partner with? I always love this. The guy's like, my sister, she's been looking for a 10 all this time. She's holding out for a 10. But I don't know if I have the heart to tell her she's a 6. And I don't know about you, but I've never met a 10. I mean, there are 10s that are externally a 10, but inside they wasted all of their resources on the outside, and the inside you're like, if it's all, listen, it's kind of like you got cash. You can spend 5 on the inside, 5 on the outside. I don't know where you're going to spend it, right? No, but the reality is there is nobody that meets that kind of criteria. Crikey. But who does he want me to partner with? Him. Look at the disciples. You guys looked at the disciples recently? They look pretty in the stained glass windows. Have you hung around the docks? Fishermen stink. And if you put a bunch of men on a boat all day by themselves, men who've served in the army, it doesn't end well. It gets pretty ugly pretty quick. Right? There's something. And then you've got one guy who's out there wanting to kill Romans, and you got another guy over here who's working for the Romans. God's like, this looks good. These are my people. These are the people that are going to reveal me to the world. And in fact, all they've got to do is a 3-year ministry school with me, and then I'm leaving them and giving them the whole planet. I look at God and I go, and what God says is, if you say that to me, then you don't understand the nature of the gospel. That the gospel is not limited by the quality of the people. It's limited by the people who won't partner with it. With each other. There is no gospel for you or me by ourselves. There is no salvation by ourselves.
Thank God.
Thank goodness. He's brought us into his family. And there is no way that we can work out our salvation with fear and trembling all by ourselves. We'll only get worse. Or less aware of how bad we are. So, where I want to end with this, though, is I've always heard that the works that he's prepared for me in advance. And hear me on this. I did a vision board this year, so I'm not downing vision boards. But do you know how you heard that for years about the vision? You know, the works he has prepared in advance? How am I going to be awesome in 2025? How am I going to be amazing? How am I going to be incredible? How am I going to be powerful? How am I going to be rich? How am I going to look good in 2025? Like, nobody has a vision like, I'm really looking forward to some humility in 2025. I really hope God humbles me. I was really hoping that he reveals all my insecurities and my needs to a bunch of other people. Anybody ever put that on your vision board? They never gonna happen, right? Like, I need those things. I need those things. That the works he's prepared for me in advance to do are the ones that make him look good, not make me look good. They're the works that serve his people, don't serve me. If the dreams that I have for my life are me-centric, they're not God dreams. If the dreams are about my awesomeness, they're not his dreams. The dreams he has. I love Peter. You guys remember Peter? Peter denies Jesus 3 times. And because Jesus denied him publicly 3 times, how did Jesus restore him in front of the other disciples? 3 times, right? And he goes, Peter, do you love me? Remember, Peter was the go-getter. Peter's like, yes, upon this rock you will build your church. That's right, that's me. And he goes, do you love me? He's like, yes. Well, then feed my sheep. Have you hung out with sheep? Anybody here been around sheep? Yes. Do you know what sheep have a problem? You know why they have to cut off the tails of sheep? Because sheep are not smart enough not to poop on their own tails. They are stinky by nature. Their wool is stinky. That lanolin is stinky. They don't bathe themselves. They don't clean. And they're dumb. And Jesus goes, do you love me? Yes. Then you should go work with sheep. No, I want to work with the good-looking ones. I want to work with Peter, do you love me? I think, why does God repeat himself? Because we didn't get it the first time, right? He knows us. He knows we're slow. It's okay. He said, tend to my lambs. The ones who are totally powerless. Okay, Peter, do you love me? Oh, God, you know I do. Honestly, it kind of feels like, I do. I sure hope so. Please help me, God. But anyway, that's my interpretation. And he says, great. Then go ahead. Feed my lamb, my sheep. Okay. And then he goes, but Peter, just realize, when you are old, when you are going to be led where you don't want to go. Like, what is the retirement plan on this position with God? Right? What's the 401k? He goes, oh, yeah, you'll be taken where you don't want to go and do what you don't want to do. And it says, this Jesus told him to tell him the manner of his death. And when Peter was, I think 50 or 60, he was crucified in Rome. And he cried out, no, I'm not worthy to be crucified like my Lord. And they said, fine. They flipped the cross upside down. That's not the retirement plan I had in mind, Jesus. I figured if I follow you, everything turns out well. And so then, being Peter, what does he do? Well, what about him? Referring to John. He's like, okay, that's a long way off. But I just don't want it, he's got to take care on sheep duty too, right? He's going to be on sheep duty too. Jesus said, what is that to you? You follow me. The calling God had for Peter was for his body, for his people. Let's just take a moment to sit on this. I feel like every one of us, we have we want to be obedient to God, but we have exclusions. And I'm going to tell you this, Jesus is going to come for your exclusions. He just does. I don't know which ones and when, but I will say this, one of the best ways to deal with your exclusions is through vulnerability. Has a way of doing that. Every woman who said she wanted to come out, she had to face something to come out. She had to deal with those things. Most of us, we spend our lives avoiding our inadequacies, avoiding our fears, avoiding our pain. each woman, every man who comes out, every time you come out to vulnerable connection and vulnerable community, you actually have to overcome something. Because he died that we may be one, even as he and the Father are one. If we could have the worship team come. I'm not sure what version of Christianity you had in mind. Maybe it's self-help. Maybe it's self-improvement. Maybe it's solve all my problems. Financial, physical, emotional, make me a better person. Jesus' plan is come and die, that I may be your life. If we could stand. Father, as we come before you, Lord, I thank you that we have been seated with you in heavenly places, but in so to do, then we have to let go of the demands of this earth realm and say, God, what do you want me to know about this? What do you want me to do? And Lord, as we submit to you, we suddenly become your ambassadors of reconciliation, bringing your life to the world. Lord, that we might do the good works you've prepared in advance for us to do. So we worship you today. Let this be our sacrifice of praise.
Jesus, thank you that we desperately depend on you, that we literally can do nothing without you. We can do nothing without you. Unless the brain gives an order to a cell, it is nothing. It can, cannot move, it cannot do anything, it cannot have life in it unless it is connected to the brain, and the signal from the brain is coming to that cell. Unless that cell is in line with the brain. Whew. So I feel like, let's just say this to Jesus. Jesus, I want to come under your headship. I want to come in alignment. Jesus, I receive the truth right now that I am seated in heavenly places. That it's not going to happen when I die. It's already happened. I am already, just speak this over yourself right now. I am seated in heavenly places. Every spiritual blessing is already mine. Right now. Not in the sweet by and by, but right now. Right now, I have authority over the prince of the air because he is under my feet. I am seated in heavenly places. Just start receiving it right now in your spirit. Just start aligning with it in your spirit right now. Start aligning with it in your spirit. If you've been sitting like a victim, if you've been sitting in the earth realm and complaining and just saying, poor pitiful me, I can't do nothing to change this, well, it's a lie. Because the truth is, you are, I am. Let's just say that over ourselves right now. Put a hand on your heart right now and just say, I am seated with Jesus in a heavenly realm.
And I am seated with you. With all of you. Lord, I thank you that if I'm in you, I'm with all of us. Oh God, you made us one. Lord, I can't do anything apart from you, but I can't do anything apart from your body. And so,
if you have never said yes to Jesus, you are not in heavenly realm right now. That's the truth. If you have not said yes to Jesus, you are still in the earth realm and you are under the authority of Satan. Unless you say yes to Jesus, Unless you say yes to Jesus, unless you can't be saved. You cannot work yourself up to heaven. You cannot climb to heaven unless you say, Jesus, I can't. Take me up. Take me up. Take me. I am yours. I am yours. I want all of me to be with all of you. I don't get to control my life anymore. I give my life to you.
But there are some of us, we realize we've been living like a homeless son of a billionaire. We said yes and we went right back out to the streets. And if that's you, just say, God, I'm ready to come home. Take me home. Take me back up to heavenly places. And we see that with the prodigal son. As soon as he's moving towards home, the father runs up and wraps his arm around him and pulls him home.
I feel like right now it's time to come. Right now it's time to come. If you have been sitting in an earthly realm and just being a victim and not experiencing heaven, but you're like, I want to run up right now. I want to come home right now. I want to sit in the heavenly place. I want to come home right now. I want to be a son. If you've never been saved, or if you've just been living like an orphan, if you've been living like an orphan, you are a son of a billionaire, of a trillionaire. But you've been barely scraping by. Come on up right now. Right now, come on. Come on, come on, come on. Come on, Jesus. Jesus, there is more. There is more.
You know what? There's another thing, though. If you've been living as a son of a billionaire all by yourself, you can come home to family this morning. You can come home to family. If you've been trying to do it alone, it's not working. Come on. Come home to family today. Come home to family. Come on.
As we go into a little bit more worship, just come on and just surrender your life. Just say, Jesus, I don't want to do this on my own anymore. Apart from you and apart from others, I surrender. I give up. I give in. I fall in. I step in. Here I am. Here I am. Take all of me.
For more information, go to ariselife.org or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.